Greetings, greetings. This is Body-Culinary. Welcome. I'm just going to do a quick share because I'm about to head off to do a quick sub for my sister with her signature class called Sweatbox. So I just wanted to stop in and do a quick share. And the share today is around a couple of things. One, does it make sense to eat raw vegan? Two, dogmatic locks, right? So I have my semi-freeform locks here. And three, dogmatic locks and with common sense. Oh, and also hot oil treatment, right? That goes along with the dogmatic locks. So first, what I wanted to touch on is raw vegan, right? We can all get into all of these terms. It's always one term or another, either or it's one camp or another, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But rather than get into good and bad, it can be more beneficial to us to go for the results that we want. Because, for example, if I'm 140 pounds, which I've been on, and I'm only 5'2", and I've seen women much, much taller than me that weigh a lot less than me. But if I'm 140 pounds and my stats are excellent, my cholesterol, my blood pressure, I like the way my body can perform when I need it to. And if I'm nice and tight and ripped and flexible, I don't really care about the number that's on the scale. And having worked as a personal trainer and in the fitness field for many years, even though there's so much more science out there available to people and women, it's mostly women that fall into this mindset. Folks still get caught up on the scale, on the number on the scale. So that number, you got to know the rules so you can know when to break the rules and know how to read the rules so that or the guidelines, right? Or the distinctions so you can be effective in the way they apply to you. And that being said, at 5'2", I could really flip out over being 140 pounds, but I carry weight very well. Right now, I could say most recently, the last couple of weeks, I have put on more weight. But as I'm, doing cardio today, somebody comes up and gives me a compliment and say, "Wow, your body looks very athletic." And there have been times before I went to, "Hey, greetings. Do you play any sport or dance?" My first thing is African dance, right? And so I'm not with any teens. I'm in Central America right now. So all of my favorite African dance classes are in the States, in Harlem and in Brooklyn. So quite often in my life, I've had to be very creative with what's available to me. So I am teaching an African dance class here. And I'm the type of person, even when I was teaching classes in the States, if I showed up and traveled a long way to teach a class and it was just me in the class or a couple of students, I put the same energy into the class. But that being said, people have asked me before if I'm a sprinter, and I was not a sprinter. I would have loved to have run track when I was small. I would have loved to have been put into dance when I was small. But my parents didn't have the resources and I just wasn't exposed to it. Once I did get to see a free Alvin Ailey show or a dance show. I thought it was Alvin Ailey, but I didn't know what it was. I was a little girl and I was like, what is that? When you see something like, I want to do that, but that I wasn't exposed to that at all. And so another time, when I went to visit my grandparents' house, and I had a whole bunch of cousins there, and they had, I think they used to call them the Colgate games, which were like sprinting games, and a lot of sisters and in the hood, I guess young Black kids, did the Colgate games and sprinting. And I remember, okay, I went to the park, and all the other girls in the neighborhood were doing it. It was my hometown, originally, and I had moved there, and all the girls were sprinting, and I remember running in this race, and I came in last, and I was a young girl, but I was like, how come I came in last? It had nothing to do with my weight or anything, but more so than it bothered me, it sparked my curiosity, it perturbed me, like, why did I come in last? And so it wasn't until I got to high school where I had a gym teacher who made us do country folk dancing, which I thought was totally whack. But she also had us run around the block of our high school. And I'm always like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? But that sparked me to go out and to run on my own when school was out. So I asked the best friend to go with me. Nobody ever wanted to go with me to run. So I remember once, I was kind of scared to go by myself, but there was one time I left early and I went to the park by myself and to see how many times I could run a lap. It wasn't about other people, but I just wanted to know for myself that I could do it. Nobody wanted to go with me to do it, so I went on my own. And what I started to do after running a couple of laps, or a little lap around the park, the East River Park, right by the 59th Street Bridge, eventually I thought Roosevelt Island was really pretty, right? They had a lighthouse on Roosevelt Island. So one day I decided to challenge myself to see if I could run to Roosevelt Island and back. And I did. And I was like, wow, I did it. So the mindset, it shifted something in me, because when I got home, I was like, nobody wanted to go with me in the hood. I went on my own. It was almost like a little adventure, and I did it. So I just kept doing it. So that is a clear picture in my head of something that was a sense of tangible accomplishment that I could do. So while I didn't get any trophies or whatever in that Colgate game when I was little, when I got older, when I was able to, I just wanted to know that I could do that. So I did it on my own. Then later on, later years, just watching, those girls, especially seeing Black girls, run on that track and field, and seeing different athletes, and seeing FloJo. I didn't know that much about her, but seeing FloJo, it was like, I want to be able to do that. So I didn't have a whole lot of cash or anything. I just knew I wanted to sprint. So I'm thinking like, well, just go sprint, then I could look it up and read on it. But for the most part, I just went out and sprinted. Of course, I was very sore after. And I would just do like little sprints, here and there in the park. And it became like a bit of a habit. Then this is me, my thought process. I would start talking to myself and say, I'm a sprinter. I'm already a sprinter. I don't have to wait for no money. I don't have to wait for any teams. I want to sprint, so I'm going to sprint. And so I thought it was interesting years later when I went to a fitness camp with one of the Fitness Olympias, Miss Fitness Olympia. People were asking me if I was a sprinter. Now, some of that may be due to my genetics, but some of it, and my point is just habits that I've had over time and over the years. And this thing in my head of, nobody wants to do it with me. I may not have a whole lot of cash, but this thing of waiting for permission, or waiting for an ideal time, waiting to have enough money. Sometimes you could just do it and explore along the way, and if you get sore, or failure is feedback, you fail forward. And I always felt if a curiosity when I just went out and I did this on my own. So those are some of my experiences. If you can just take a minute with me to go inside my thought process around sprinting. Over the years, I was attracted to African dance after club, and I was never a drinker or a smoker. But after high school, when I got a good job and I was able to pay my car fare to and from a club, and to be able to pay my entrance fee, and to show my mother I would be safe, I wanted to dance. So I went out to dance. And then eventually one of the girls that I was dancing with told me about a dance class at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, which was African dance. One time I took it and I was hooked. I was hooked. I was like, what is this? I had to be there every week. I started looking for African dance classes all over New York. The hottest dance classes were in Harlem. So I would travel from Queens to Harlem, and later on when I moved to Brooklyn, from Brooklyn to Harlem. It took a long time for the Brooklyn African dances classes to get popping. But Harlem always had the best classes. Some of them were free or $5, but again, it didn't occur to me as fitness. It was just fun. After I had my son in my early 20s, and I danced when my son was in my belly. I was like, I have to get my dance class on. It was like, it's such a release, so much fun. I remember once there was this one dance called Cuckoo. So high energy. And there was so many drummers that used to come in. If anybody out there knows of the African dance class by Forces of Nature Dance Company, they used to be at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. The directors, Abdel Olabamidele husbands, and Abdel Salam, the best. They do the best Kwanzaa in New York. Check them out at the Apollo. But that class used to attract so many drummers and some people playing the flute. It would get packed with musicians. The energy was so high. I remember the drums were playing, the music and the dance was so high. My son was in my stomach. It felt so electric. I wouldn't care if my body split in half. Like my heartbeat was going through the roof, and I just did not care, because to me, it's like pure joy, pure joy, pure joy, electricity, like just the energy of everybody in a good class. How long did you do African dance? Well, from my early 20s, right? So I'll be I'll be 50 this next coming birthday. in some months. I'll be 50. So it's gotta be going on about 30 years, right? Almost about 30 years. And I've always been doing something in fitness and food ever since, ever since. It's just I'm drawn to it for different reasons, right? I remember also asking my mother, like once, what did you want to do when you were younger? Did you ever want to dance? What were your dreams? Did you ever want to do anything creative? And as I watched women on the southern side of my family, many of the women in the church, I saw so much obesity. Um, Everybody be eating the cornbread and the dinners after church service. Maybe they would have the tambourines. It was a Pentecostal church, Black Pentecostal Stomp Shout church. And that was about the only dancing I saw. But I didn't see any physical activity except that one time I saw a free show. So I wondered, what kind of things creatively did women want to do before everybody got bogged down with children? Like, what were their dreams for creative expression? So I said, I'm gonna dance, and I was like, I may not be a professional dancer, but it's good enough. It's professional for me. So I am the person to talk to myself and say, I am a dancer, and I'm just claiming it, because sometimes like we're looking so much through social media and other people, I wish I could do that. Or I would have loved to do that. Just do it. As an adult, I think I mentioned before, I took myself to charm school once after a breakup. I decided to go to a Black charm school just because it was something I wanted to, it was something that I wanted to experience. So that being said, let me just go back. I think I'm veering off a little bit. I wanted to bring that back to food because my godmother, who I took her on as my godmother, this woman, we were like done fried in the warm up before the African dance class. And I was thinking like, isn't she so much older than me? I could not understand. I wasn't overweight or anything. I could not understand why I could not keep up with her. That it bothered me. It baffled me. It fascinated me, and then also my godmother, her disposition, her energy, her joy, the most dynamic Black woman I have ever met in my life. All about my daily husbands, like just forever. My godmother, she could get it. I'm always going to look in on her. But just such a firecracker, consistent to this day, most dynamic Black woman I have ever met. And so she had a six-pack back then, and I was much younger than her. And I was like, I just couldn't understand. So I was watching her like a hawk to see whatever she's drinking, whatever she's reading, then her attitude and her joy and her energy level and her accomplishment, whatever she was doing, I wanted to do it. So she and my godfather, they directed Forces of Nature. They fasted. They fasted every summer, and they just looked fantastic. Still look fantastic to this day. So I'm sweating here. It's probably going on 100 degrees, but they fasted every summer. It wasn't a big production or anything. My godfather, he had us fast during Ramadan. A bunch of, we weren't Muslim or anything, but they were just different things. When we came around them and doing volunteer work, they were just so healthy and dynamic and drumming and dancing. It was so much fun that these were things that I was exposed to. And I was just so grateful. Hey, Fiona. Hey, Stacy. How are you? Are you able to sit in a split? Right now, I'm a little tight because I went to do some cardio today. And I would say it felt like over a month, but I got into a funk. And I felt triggered by something, and I got so turned off. And I was in such a I was such in the zone with my workout. And that's one of the things I wanted to share here. I've had a client that said I shouldn't be so transparent. But I think transparency, I think is very valuable to people. I know I've always appreciated my godparents just put me up on some information and not let me suffer, even if I didn't follow all of their instruction. But just to give me some insight where other adults just wouldn't make themselves vulnerable or just put me on the game, and just tell me about some of the things they went through when they were younger. Not necessarily give me the answer, but expose me to things. So as someone is competing in fitness and in a mom, somebody can say that I look good in my body. I know what it's like to have an injury. I know what it's like to, and one time I couldn't relate to injuries. I was educated, but when I finally felt a shift in my own body, when I reached a certain age, I was in my prime. I felt at my peak at 45. I was at my peak and still going strong, able to, in my mid 40s, able to dust my son in the park. And that was from habits. I will say I've started to feel certain shifts in my body. And so just because you look good on the inside, I've also been humbled to see people in pain and to feel what discomfort and pain feels like. So things like that, in addition to working with lots of clients who are like, I don't want to be on a magazine cover. I just don't need to experience pain in my neck or in my back. Clients that are wealthy, that have the money to pay for training, that want somebody that's going to keep them injury free and know what the heck they're doing and not going to place them in harm's way. It's very humbling, these things, and seeing people also suffer when they get to the point where they have all their retirement money, but they haven't really taken care of their health. Now, them and some of my clients' parents spend all their time in their upper years or their mid to upper years, not even old yet, at the doctor's office. So these things are what give me a clarity. They really, really give me a super clarity. That's why there's certain things that, and I'm a huge, I love to eat. I really, really enjoy food. I don't want to diet. I'm not going to do it. At the same time, I'm so clear on what certain things will do to me and what they will cause that I'm not going to eat them. Now, I'm not a saint. It's not that I'll ever eat treats, but just my idea of treats are pretty much fruits and vegetables. If anything, sometimes it might be eating quantities that are too much mindlessly. That's still something I have to watch. But I thought it was interesting when I got and was doing some walking, some hill walking today. After a month of really my body opening up and then my weight shifting, although weight is not my primary concern, there are still certain markers that I will use to see my progress, if I'm going forward or backwards, just to see if I'm being effective in what I'm doing. And it's also fascinating to me to see what my heart is doing. So I'll use heart rate monitors. I'll use different things to gauge and give me feedback on what I'm doing to my body. I couldn't believe in like a matter of weeks where my recovery isn't as quicker. Right, going into my fifth decade, my body felt so tight and closed down. It almost made me want to cry, and it's very humbling because you can't just ride off of all the accomplishments of yesteryear or when you used to sprint back in 1982. Now, your body does have muscle memory and can remember and may get into certain things quicker than somebody that's never done anything. Like if you were ever a dancer, your body can quickly be able to get into a split, or there's certain things you've trained into your body. But if you don't use it, you will lose it. Even somebody that's very fit. As someone that's been very conditioned and fit, if I eat too much avocados, even though I enjoy whole living unprocessed foods, if I'm just sitting in a funk and watching YouTube videos all day and then just scarfing down raw sesame seed hummus and 3-4 avocados, which I could do, and a lot of times I've done that. My sister and I, could get away with it. I can't always get away with it. Sometimes I may not even look like it, but my digestive system slows down and I feel the weight. I discussed in the live we did on Sunday, we were just talking about food and emotions. And that's some of the content that I'm putting together for folks, because it's easy for us to just get caught up in vegan and vegetarian. And it doesn't tell the whole picture. You can be eating a lot of junk food on a vegan vegetarian diet or on a ketosis diet, on all these different diets. The minute you touch a carb, you can blow up. Or are we eating primarily for emotion? And that is something that I've been exploring for many, many years, that a lot of times, and if anything, I would say I'm much more sensitive and I can watch it now. Whereas even though it's fresh, whole, unprocessed foods, a lot of times, because my food is so nutrient dense, I can notice if I'm stressed or if I'm triggered by something that annoys me, or, if it's something, I get triggered by things I feel are injustices, that'll make me angry. I'm a person that doesn't like to admit to anger, but yes, I'm human. I'm learning at going on 50 to admit sometimes if I'm angry, right? Sometimes as Black women and as women, we as people, we don't process our emotions. We don't acknowledge our emotions, like it makes us less than if we're not the strong, Black woman. But just because I look a certain way or decently fit, it doesn't mean I don't feel the effects of eating too much food. It makes it feel like it's so much harder. I can feel even though it's healthy food, I can feel my body almost shut down because it takes so much energy to digest too much food. I can notice salt will give me, even if it's sea salt and pink Himalayan sea salt, will give me a false appetite, and it can be very addictive. So these are some of the things for us to look at that I would say go beyond vegan, the things that drive us to eat, to medicate ourselves. And one of the benefits of eating fresh, whole living, unprocessed foods, which for me, I like to you paint that picture more so than just vegan, because vegan does not tell the whole story. I would even go so far to say, not making it wrong, I would even say cruelty free. So cruelty free first. If I'm cruelty free, least harm possible and cruelty free to my brain, right, which is a control center, my breasts, right, not wanting to compromise my breasts, not wanting to encourage the growth of uterine fibroids or growths in my system. And I could be doing all of this fresh whole food and something could still happen, right? I wasn't always raised on healthy food. You know what I'm saying? Even eating too much food is taxing on the body, but I just take responsibility and do the best that I can. But if I'm weighed down with too much nuts and seeds and salt, it's still not beneficial. So I can say the word healthy, but it's not beneficial to the body. It is still taxing to the body. So also someone that only has a small piece of my thyroid, I can gain weight very, very easily. Also, I'm very clear. I don't want to be spastic and stressed out and over obsessing over my weight. Raising my son cruelty free, and even him coming around his mom in the gym a lot, I didn't want him to pick up a bodybuilder's mindset, which automatically a male will pick up coming around a lot of fitness people and a lot of trainers. It was just like, just focus on health. And how do we tell if we're healthy? Well, the standard I use is performance. It's what's my elimination like? What's my skin look like? Do I feel rested? And big one for me is, am I able to perform? Do I have the energy to perform? When I overeat or eat too much food, I lose the desire and the energy. Like some people say, like you eat the sweets before your dinner, you spoil your appetite. It dampens my enthusiasm to get out there and to move, if that makes sense. And I'm always experimenting. So I would say this last month and a half, I watched as I was playing and having fun, exercising, my weight, and some people might not notice it or whatever, but I can, it's nuances, drop down about 10 pounds, like in a month and a half of just consistency and me enjoying myself, right? When I get to the point where if I don't do that daily ritual, I start to miss it. Boop, dropped it. And I felt so much lighter. I felt so much more cute and beautiful. What's that? I'm not cute. It's kind of like puppies, but just more attractive, more powerful, more feline. Like I'm just feeling really, really good. Feeling good in my underwear and jumping around on my trampoline. I felt so much lighter and energized. I noticed when I was triggered by a couple of things, right? And if you step back and look at the patterns in your own life and your body, the things that trigger you to go mindless, to go not present, right? Not present to what you're doing, to losing hours in front of the screen, losing hours eating mindlessly nuts and servings of nuts or something for 15 people, which is easy to do, right? If we think we're just off the hook because it's raw and it's vegan, then we can have a tendency to think that it's all good because it's raw and vegan and not be accountable for just eating too much food. So with that being said, does it make sense to eat raw vegan, right? And I can't tell you what to do, right? I've trained people for many years. And actually, I never told not one client that they had to be vegan or vegetarian. I met people where they are. And it was interesting. I noticed the majority of my clients, and many of them send me emails to this day. The majority of them wind up getting a juicer and or a Vitamix. The majority of them, their spouses started eating a tremendous amount, much more fruits and vegetables. Many of my clients would send me pictures of their food. This is because the way we were interacting, it was a lifestyle and making it fun. Sometimes I would bring them treats. We stayed in the conversation around, and it became like just fun. Like sometimes people would even tease me. I heard somebody talking about fruits and vegetables on the treadmill. I knew it had to be you. And I'm like, yeah, that is me. I always got all kinds of cute containers, and sometimes I would bring goodie bags, for clients and let them sample certain things. A lot of times I wouldn't say vegan or vegetarian. I would just say it's food. And I'm like, and they knew it was healthy, coming from me, because there's just certain things I'm not going to eat. And sometimes they'll be pleasantly surprised. Make sure it would be wrapped nicely and the presentation was beautiful. And nobody really cared about the label. Nobody cared if it was vegan or vegetarian. They knew that if I was giving to them, it was going to be healthy, but it was beautiful. And they was like, wow, this tastes really good. So all I have to say, it was in the approach, and I'm having fun. It's exciting. Well, other people are like, don't you want coffee? No, I'm thinking like, why the heck would I, first of all, why would I want to give myself another addiction at this point? And then the idea that I can't function without coffee doesn't make sense to me. And third, usually I would get in a half an hour cardio before my client. Sometimes I would even get to the gym before it was open, and do cardio before my clients, and I would feel so energized. Like that would feel like perhaps what a cup of coffee felt like to them. Nisha, eating raw vegan feels best for my body, especially during the warmer months. I live in the Midwest, USA, and I do need some cooked food in colder months. And that's what I'm going to say. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. And some of us want somebody to tell us what to do. I've had many clients that said, listen, I'm putting my body in your hands. This is why I'm paying you. Tell me what to do. Okay, I get that. Some people are like, I don't have the time as a CEO or whatever to think. But in the context of money, people wanting to give the responsibility over to someone else, you have to live with your body and your results. And so you may see me doing things. It's not bad or it's wrong, but you have to tweak it until you get your results. For me, as a value, cruelty free is a value for me. I don't think that's going to change. It's a value. Certain things I just don't want to do because it doesn't resonate with me. Even when I had was doing competitions and my body looked a certain way, I just did not. I tried eating meat for a while, and I didn't want to do it. It just did not gravitate to me as a value system. So I think that's a good guide for many people. You can say, rather than being dogmatic, whether it comes to your hair or your locks, or being going all the way to the right or the way to the left, you may need to go to an extreme, depending on, for example, if you're in a danger zone, your friends and your family around you may think that you're being extreme, but you may need to be extreme because your life depends on it. And I have worked in a holistic health center, and I have seen people pretty much on their deathbed, and they did not change the way that they eat because they didn't like the taste. Or many people, and also corporate executives, feel like I have to drink when I'm with clients. I have to do this stuff, and which is interesting because depending on the person that you're speaking to, you can have I used to do certain health expos with certain corporations, and I thought it was interesting. The CEOs and the people at the top level would come in, and quite often they would be at the gym 4:30. 5:30 in the morning, hit it, quit it with the trainer, work ethic, and be done. Their assistants, it was interesting, right? Oh, most of them said they didn't have the time to work out. I thought that was amazing. So if you look at people that are very accomplished in their field, like if I look at Angela Bassett, who I love, part of her being an icon, in addition to her craft of acting, is she stands out and she takes on roles of strong women, and she invests in herself. She invests money in herself, in her self-care. Obviously, she's obviously invested money in finding out what nutrition plan is going to give her the results that she wants. I remember taking one of my first income tax checks many years ago, and I remember looking at the gym and saying, well, I'm here all the time. Why does she look like that and I look like this? Now, I wasn't overweight or anything, but I could recognize just tone, right? Muscle tone. And I was like, I want to look like that. So somebody was like, oh, I know this trainer. I took my money, got the instructions to the place, and I went and found this trainer and gave my money. And I said, tell me what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So that is a mindset of somebody being willing to invest in themselves. Free advice, although you get lots of wonderful free advice on YouTube. If I'm going for heart surgery, I'm not going to feel comfortable with the free advice. I want the person that's time tested. Usually a lot of my clients don't even trust free advice. When it comes to an accountant or somebody dealing with their health or with an asset, they're willing to invest in themselves. And I noticed that, like, I've been the person to want to take the last money in my pocket and buy a book, or to buy, like, way back, my first vegetarian food was a falafel or whatever, because that was a value. I was so passionate about it. Or taking a course. I have always been taking courses and educating myself for years. So people that invest in themselves, they get results. And only you can determine raw vegan. Does that mean you just eat celery and apples? Does that mean you invest and take the time to educate yourself? Or did you just find any old random person that has a label, do you research people, see what their results are, their energy, and say like, just take the time to educate yourself or be in a circle of influence where you can get educated, right? I remember a long time ago, somebody said to me, hang around with people that are smarter than you. And I can definitely say having friends and other moms that were fiercely cut fitness competitors, that raised the standard for me. You know, when we went to the gym, instead of hanging out, they wouldn't be wanting to drink alcohol. They wanted to do cardio and to work out. You know, so if I always just stayed at the same space of the clients, I probably wouldn't have any clients. I wouldn't have any results. So I encourage folks to see, what is the standard for you? Is it about raw vegan? For me, the value is cruelty free. What kind of results are you looking for? Can you honestly say, or do you have someone in your life who you give permission to give you honest feedback and you're able to take critique? Corporate CEOs and executives, they pay people to tell them what their blind spots are. It's not that their information they have is wrong or bad, but they want to get to another level of development. An Olympic athlete is going to invest in a whole team of coaches because they've got 4 years to prepare for perhaps one try, you know, at that gold medal. You know, so I think that's a good analogy to look at your life. What kind of results do you want? And if you want another level of results, it's usually going to require being very uncomfortable, right? Especially if it's new, until you get past a point of starting to feel like, one, even you're going to feel better before you look better. And then the psychological integrity is another kind of fuel and power that you get from investing in yourself and pushing through something that's uncomfortable for you. If you hang out in the locker room with people that trade excuses or live vicariously through their trainer, oh, my trainer looks great, you know, but then they spend most of the time of their training session in the dressing room, in their hair. Or I've seen sometimes trainers leave the gym and go around the corner to Popeyes. I saw one trainer going with his client to Popeyes. And, you know, I had to say something to this brother. I'm like, come on now. It's not that much sisters that's investing in personal training. I'm like, really? I was a long time. I was like, don't say nothing, don't say nothing. And I was like, I have to say something. I was minding my own bi business, riding my bicycle, you know, down Court Street in Brooklyn, and I saw this guy, and I see this sister working hard with her trainer, and he's coming with her outside of Popeyes, and I'm like, you look ripped, and this sister trying to work on her body, and you coming with her to Popeyes? I was like, what's up with that? He said, well, that's what she wanted. I was like, dude, you got to be kidding, man. I was like, come on, how you gonna do a sister like that? So all that to say, only you can say if it's raw, if it's vegan, whatever. If it's healthy, if you're eating the amounts that are appropriate for you. How can you know what amounts are appropriate for you? Even if you don't know the amounts, you can take a look at your midsection, your energy level. If you're constipated and dropping bricks down in the toilet, all of those things are going to give you feedback about how effective you're being at whatever it is, the habits that you have, you know? Yeah, it pays to invest in yourself. So it goes beyond raw vegan. You can take exercise, and you can use exercise to the point and where you just want to demolish the body and beat the body into submission. I've seen women bulimic in the gym. I know of one woman that died, that pretty much starved and cardioed herself to death, and that's real. This one, I saw her come fresh out of a surgery, and she was in the gym on a stair mill. And so I have tremendous compassion. But if we just stop and we think about what's driving our behavior, are we exercising out of fear? Are we exercising because we have a commitment and a dedication to being like what I call an athlete in our own right? Because a lot of times I get myself hyped. I'm like, I'm an athlete. I'm going to be 60. I'm going to be 100. And I'm going to be jumping double dutch. You know, if I have grandchildren, I want to jump double dutch with my granddaughters and my great nieces and my great nephews. I want to be here long and be able to play and to be able to perform. You know, some of my sweetest memories are my son teaching me handstands and doing capoeira with my son, and him showing me the way to ride across the bridge. Oh my gosh, those are fantastic reasons to be fit. So you have the energy to do what you want to do. And it's a mind state. It's a mind state. If you want something to rip the victim mentality from around you, or the woe is me, you know, because I'm not immune to it. You know, sometimes I could get really stuck if I'm thinking about injustice, and I realize that's a trigger for me. But I could spend so much time wallowing in the injustice of something that it could totally sap my motivation to be creative. So if I don't have a lot of folks or support around me at the time, it's like, wow, you got to step back and look at what kinds of tools for self-care can I put in place, or what can I do to catapult me out of that mindset, right? Because I have never regretted a workout. Once you start exercising and moving, you never regret it. Hey, fallen skies, fabric of a woman. How are you? How are you? So all I have to say, fruits and vegetables, everybody, no matter what label you want to call yourself, everybody can benefit from eating whole food that you can still recognize, fresh, living fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts. If anything, we'll have to learn what the proper amounts are for us. Many of us may not understand. Just like meat can take a long time to digest, there are some things like legumes and nuts and seeds that can be harder to digest. And also, if you're just scarfing down bags of nuts and avocado, and particularly if you're not active, you can still gain weight. You know what I'm saying? You can exercise and still gain weight. These are sticking points for many people, and then some people will get discouraged and give up. So that's where investing in yourself makes sense, and getting some education. And the label does not necessarily mean you have the results. That also being said, that because I don't worry about food because I'm not eating any junk, and I'm not saying that as bragging rights, but you can't pay me to eat it because I suffered with really bad acne. My energy level goes down, my mood goes down if I'm eating, even if it's whole living stuff from the plant kingdom, if it's too heavy and too dense for me to digest. And then also the other thing is learning, taking some time. It doesn't have to be, long, drawn out and complicated, but it does require just a bit of investment in yourself to learn how to prepare some of the things of the proteins in the plant kingdom, so that you have variety. If you have variety, I always spend time. I could just go inside anybody's house, vegan or not, or just go in my kitchen and not without a recipe, and whip up noodles, whip up a sauce. I can make milk from anything. That was when I cooked vegetarian. Even when the times where I did go back for some years and eat chicken and fish, I'm very creative. I want my food to be very beautiful because I enjoy it. And I'll make sure I have my little cloth napkins and light a candle and say my blessings before I eat, making a ritual around the food. I can definitely tell you, sitting with a whole bunch of bags of popcorn or sesame seeds and cashews in front of YouTube. So the transparency, that I jumped up like about 8, almost 9 pounds. That could be water retention. So people will freak out and get really thrown off. If you calm yourself down and realize that getting numbers or measurements is giving you feedback, right? Feedback, because I know it's just too much. You can also get bloated, water retention, too much salt. There's all these variables, but some people are only thinking of the scale and they have one picture of what that looks like. So that was like a month and a half, dropped 9 pounds, and just a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks, boop, right back. So it's not that I look bad. I'm thinking like, wow, I put on about 8, 9 pounds quickly. And somebody just gave me a compliment today. And this is me in my 50th year, not trying to go on stage or compete. I'm doing a fraction of what I used to, but my good habits are really saved me. And I encourage people to douse yourself with fresh fruits and vegetables, and don't worry about so much about the label, and just think about your values. If your value is health, things will fall more into place. A value for me also is enjoyment. Enjoyment is very important, because if I enjoy the food, let me watch the time because I'm getting ready to go sub for a class, do a warm up for a class. But enjoyment is important because with enjoyment, there is sustainability. And so I hope you folks can see that I'm just trying to just push the point. This is not dieting. If you look at what the previous video I did with 3 quick styles for tender-headed folks, and I don't really do much with my hair. I always put visuals of food, because food to me is very beautiful. And I externed at a top restaurant. I don't credit the restaurant with teaching me to cook, even though I did get some good standards and some, good disciplines. But the flavor comes from the Southern, the Afro-American side, or the Afro folk and the American experience, that side, and also the Caribbean, the Bayesian side. That's who taught me how to season food. If anything, I learned plating and presentation and rotating foods, all of that in culinary school, and then experiencing that in a top restaurant. But I would watch the beauty and the care and the skill that came out of these kitchens. Oh my gosh. That is what I like to bring, that experience. I love to hear people that, oh my gosh, that was delicious. Oh, is this for me? Like it's a gift. Can you folks see that is not dieting? Then I have so much treats. There's no reason to cheat. Or if my sister calls me, it's like, well, the shake was really good today, because I'll send her off of her goodie bag. She's like, oh, that was delicious. And she was like, people start giggling when you give them really good food. So that's not a diet. That's not a diet. I could give you a million recipes, or anybody can tell you to eat chicken breast and broccoli that's very dried, or eat 20 tons of bacon, cheese, and ground meat while I'm watching these rolls and stuff. But it's like Atkins all over again. Not down in Atkins, but many of us are looking for excuses to not do the things that we don't want to do, which we inherently know we need to do, right? The antioxidants are not coming into our body from animal foods, right? This is not making it good, bad, right, or wrong, just results. The antioxidants and the things that nourish our body against cancer are not coming in from animal foods. Those are coming from the plant kingdom, right? You can choose the protein of your choice. As I have mentioned, there's a documentary out now from some of the top athletes, Arnold Schwarzenegger being one of them, that is supporting a vegan, not even vegetarian, a vegan diet. You know what I'm saying? So all I have to say, common sense when it comes to your food. Looking at, are you becoming too emaciated? Can you dial in and say, I'm not getting enough calories, I'm getting too much calories, I'm eating good, but I'm just not sleeping? If you leave out the sleep or rest, relaxation, you have cardio, flexibility, nutrition, and accountability. If you leave out any of those things, those are major components of most people's results. And people usually will pick their favorite thing. Some people just want to go run, but don't do any strength training, right? So to have like a balanced approach and a lifestyle is part of what makes things enjoyable and sustainable, and makes you effective in the results that you're looking for. So the other thing I just want to touch on quickly before I get out of here is Dogmatic with the Locs. Right? Some of us can have a tendency to be go very passionately about something, right? So me not wanting to put any products in my hair, and I still don't want to, but also I'm in Central America where it's super duper hot, and I just love to bathe. I just love to bathe. It's so relaxing to me to have water in my hair. So that's another reason that I love freeform locks, because I can sweat and not worry about sweating out my hair. But I have stripped and cider vinegar and just stripped my hair out in the sun. And so although I didn't want to acknowledge it, and I've been doing this for like months and months and months, I've been giving myself a haircut where almost like this much of my locks has been coming off, right? So, and looking at little pieces of it breaking, I was like, okay, I have totally dried it out. So now I had to go and I gave myself a hot oil treatment, which is just coconut oil, which is all over the place here in Central America, and olive oil. And I'm like, my hair was like, thank you. So I don't think I need to put oil in it all the time, because I just don't like oil running into my face or on my bed linens and so on. But again, if can I be dogmatic? It's like saying, okay, I don't want any blood transfusion. I really don't want anybody else's blood. But if it's up to my life or death, right? I didn't want my thyroid, half my thyroid taken out. But when they mentioned cancer, and I was much younger then, they didn't even know if it could have been cancer. As a matter of fact, they weren't even conclusive. They didn't even give me good feedback. And I was young. I didn't know any better. I was by myself. If I had it to do over, I don't know if I would do it. But when I had to weigh out being there for my son and taking a chance with cancer, I was like, take the thyroid. I'll just take a scar. You know what I'm saying? So nobody can make these decisions for you. You're the onus for your health, the responsibility. You could take the responsibility and something that still happened. But at least I feel more in integrity and more at peace with myself, knowing that I was as responsible as I could be when it comes to my health. Right now, if somebody was to give me a diagnosis, I would have to say, what else could I be doing? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting enough sunshine? Am I getting enough calcium? I look at my nutrients. Where, I researched my thyroid initially that had put me on Synthroid, but I just know for me as a value, I don't want to take medication. So years ago, I researched, well, what can I do? So I just was taking like loads of seaweed on a regular basis. And my thyroid, it balanced out the, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. It balanced out. And I went and was responsible and paid to take tests to see if that hormone was there. But I seaweed. Some of the seaweeds I was eating was very expensive at the health food store. But for me, as a value, I'd rather invest in my juicer, my bush tea, or my sea vegetables than getting cut or taking medication. That's a value for me. So I'd rather be responsible. And as I've been researching about menopause, because I am approaching that age, going on 50, and I have some people around me that are experiencing that. I also can think of some people on the healthy, extended side of my family that have one woman, she can't wait to be 100. She's got to be in her upper 80s now. She was like, I don't experience any symptoms. So I don't know if I will, if I won't. I'm eating whole living foods. But just in case, my responsibility, I'm going to research it anyway, just to see, what things I should be taking. So I already know chia seeds and flax seeds are things that I should be incorporating. So what do I do? What does Body-Culinary do? I already start making milks and seeing different kinds of sauces and things that where can I be creative with the flax seeds and the chia seeds? This is my thought process. So someone was asking me about the book that I wrote, which is called Whole Living Foods in the Hood, Part 1, with menus to fit your budget. And they thought it was a recipe book, but it's not a recipe book. What it is over the years, people have been asking me, don't you do this? Don't you miss that? No, I don't miss certain things. And yes, I enjoy my food, but it's more so insight into the food addiction that I was raised in, right? Diabetes is waiting for me. High blood pressure is waiting for me. Amputations, mastectomies waiting for me. I'm crystal clear. I don't care if it's Jesus, Muhammad, Barack Obama. If I need to carry my little hot sauce in my food, I'm not joining the crowd to fit in with anybody. Wedding, I don't care. You can think it's rude. I'm clear. And it's for each person to get to that level of clarity for themselves. I can't do that. I don't care if you can say embarrassed, whatever. I'm doing what I need to do for me because I got to live with me, right? I'm living with the results. So I'm not so hooked on trying to impress people that I'm going to eat what they're eating, right? I remember the acne. You know what I'm saying? And I know how easy it is for me to gain weight. And if I was going to gain weight, it's going to be some avocados that can come out the other end and not be stuck on my waist. Because it's just too hard. It's too hard to get that stuff off. You can only exercise. Hey, greeting. Yes, I love wild edible plants. And actually, I'm growing, purslane grows like crazy over here. Fresh cerasee grows it's like a weed over here. I have to pull it out of my hips with my kale and stuff. So that's really an excellent bitter that's inexpensive. So nature is going to give you something everywhere you go. And I want to plant some lamb's quarter. I haven't identified lamb's quarter here. And what was the other one? Lamb's quarter and wild dandelion, which is very good for your liver, right? And so what was the other thing? So don't want to lose track of the points. The other thing is being dogmatic. If I want to be dogmatic, I'll continue to let my hair break until it's already off because I'm so holding dogmatically onto a principle. I'm not here to sit in condemnation of people for doing what they have to do with what they feel is within their budget, within their value system. A trainer, a nutrition consultant, or somebody, they're a catalyst and they're there to hold space for you within your process. They're not there to fight with you. But at the same time, the balance of that is when you come and you say, these are results I'm looking for, if you don't have the results that you want, that's initially why you go to other people. And sometimes folks will pay a trainer to be their confidant and their friend and tell them good things about their bad habits. I've paid trainers and coaches for years. Yes. And people are like, why are you paying a trainer if you're a trainer? Because it's always about me learning something new and going to another level of development. And I've had some of the best coaches and trainers on the planet where it's been so much fun, right? So that's a channel on. I'm having fun. So it's not a struggle in that sense. And then I get off. I feel so empowered and strong from the challenge. I remember once going to CrossFit. It might have been my first time going to a CrossFit. And there were I think somebody was training to be a Navy SEAL there and another guy for the fire department. It was some athletes. That workout was so hard. I was humble and it was so short that I was like, oh my, mind blowing. But I'm a pop squat queen. At that point, I was like, nobody in here is going to out pop squat me. And I was like, I beat out all these men pop squats. But that's from doing pop squats several times a day with clients all day. I was like, none of these cats is going to out pop squat me. But I felt so electrified when I left that place. I was like, I'm hooked. So those are the kind of psychological experiences that I get when I'm exercising. So I'm just giving you some insight. That book, Whole Living Foods in the Hood, is I'm giving you my take on food addiction and how do we get to the place where now many women can't even look in the mirror and see like, wow, I don't know how my body got like this. Some people could be several hundred pounds, 300 pounds on a tiny frame, and they don't see themselves as fat. And it's not about just the fat, it's the lack of health, the lack of mobility. It's shortening your lifespan. That's the perspective I'm looking at things from, which I found is more effective than just good or bad. So I don't need to be dogmatic about my hair or my locks. If it was hanging on one by a shoestring, I'd cut it off. I'm not going to walk around looking like Bozo the Clown. I don't have no problem cutting all of this off if I need to, but I also right now want to have the experience, of growing my hair out, right? So what was the other thing? Being dogmatic about locks. And what was my other thing I wanted to touch on? It was, I touched on it, was the hot oil treatment, right? The same thing is that I gave my hair a hot oil treatment. It feels great, but sometimes we're putting ourselves in the box. People will put themselves in a box with labels. We do it around race, ethnic groups, vegan, non-vegan, animal rights. When we're human beings with flaws, we have goals, we have aspirations. We share the planet with people that eat meat, that eat junk food, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes we're just so, I don't know, we can be so dogmatic with ourselves and with each other. Sometimes we can miss out, right? Because I can learn something from anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I've always in my travels and different kinds of careers that I've had, I like talking to people and getting to know different people. Those are some of the things that would make work so much fun where people are like, wow, people's like, wow, you seem to be having so much fun with your client, because I will go to work and I'll feel like, all right, who do I get to play with today? And I am the trainer that will whip out a double dutch. And I'll be like, y'all never jumped no double dutch? And be right inside this high engine jumping double dutch and inviting other people to get a jump. So all that to say, I'm about to run off and to teach this class. I just wanted to share this quick time with you. Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Check out the last couple of videos and the self-care video, the gardening videos, the puppet series on this channel, Sister Butterfly and Sister Monkey Learn to Eat Better. Love to hear your feedback. Subscribe to the channel and share. Oh, and don't forget, Thanksgiving, giving thanks for this body temple. We only got one, so we want to keep the original body parts as much as we can. There's a $25 Thanksgiving Treat Yourself Royal Challenge. How much fresh, whole living, unprocessed foods, beautiful, delicious food that you like can you get for $25? So I uploaded that video. If you want to see what I got for $25, check that video out. And keep in mind, you'll need to adjust that towards whatever produce is available to you in your area. So the more seasonal the food is, the less expensive and the more tasty it is going to be. So with that, I hope you all create a great day or evening. What time is it here? Here now it's about 5:31, so that's on the East Coast. I guess it's 7:31 over there in New York. You are so welcome. So yeah, so Kanisha, that's a good point you made. Raw vegan, if it feels better, or raw vegan, the label, but if it's what you're eating, those fresh fruits and vegetables, they feel better in your body. They feel better in your body for a reason. They're not dense. They're loaded with nutrients, but not high in calories, and they don't take as long to digest. So a lot more of that content, and I am developing some specific content, which I'm really looking forward to presenting to you folks around being very present when we're eating, because a lot of times, and you let me know what you think, we're eating just from a space of emotions, either not trying to feel or feeling dead and inside and trying to feel, if that makes sense. And a lot of times the midsection of what we're eating is a symptom of where our head and our mentality is at. And so without trying to sound esoteric at all, being mindless about what we're doing and not dialing in, it manifests and it shows up on our midsection. This is Body Culinary sign off. I would chat with you folks all the time, but I got to get over here to the sweatbox class and give these folks a good warm up. So I'll see you soon in the next video. Alrighty, folks, take care.